The stars twinkled in the vast darkness of space as the U.S. Defiant moved silently through the void. It was the year 2157, and humanity had finally achieved what many had thought impossible: faster than light travel. The ship emerged near Proxima Centauri, the closest star to Earth's sun, marking humanity's first step into the wider galaxy. Captain Frank Miller stood on the bridge, his weathered face illuminated by the glow of control panels. At 52 years old, he had spent his entire life working toward this moment. His crew of 34 represented the best of humanity: scientists, engineers, and explorers chosen from every continent on Earth. "Status report," Frank said, his voice calm despite the historical significance of their position. "All systems normal, Captain," replied Linda Jackson, his second in command. Her dark eyes scanned the readings on her screen. "The jump was successful. We are exactly where we planned to be." Frank nodded and looked at the main view screen. A red dwarf star glowed in the distance. "Humanity's first footsteps beyond our solar system," he said quietly. "I wonder what's waiting for us out here." Unknown to Frank and his crew, they were being watched. Far above the plane of human perception, members of the Galaxy Council observed the primitive vessel with curiosity and some concern. The Galaxy Council had existed for over 10,000 years. 12 advanced species from across the Milky Way had joined together to maintain peace and order. They had rules about contacting new spacefaring races, and humanity had just triggered the first stage of those protocols. In the Council's Grand Observation Chamber, representatives of the 12 species gathered around a holographic display of the U.S. Defiant. "So they finally managed it," said the Viridian High Administrator, a tall insect-like being with gleaming blue exoskeleton. Its mandibles clicked as it spoke. "Sooner than we expected." "They are remarkably determined," noted the representative of the Luminary, a being of pure energy contained within a specialized field generator. "They've advanced from primitive flight to faster-than-light travel in less than 300 years. "That's precisely what concerns me," rumbled the Axrethi Elder, a massive reptilian creature with scales that shifted color with its emotions. Currently, they glowed a cautious orange. Such rapid advancement suggests unpredictability. Back on the Defiant, the crew was busy collecting data about their surroundings. They had no idea they had just entered the domain of a galactic civilization, thousands of years more advanced than their own. Over the next 10 years, humanity established their first colony on a planet orbiting Proxima Centauri. They named it New Eden. The colony grew quickly as more ships followed the path the Defiant had blazed. Humans showed remarkable ability to adapt to the challenges of their new world. The Council continued to watch. They were surprised not by humanity's technology, which was quite primitive by their standards, but by humans' creativity and determination. Where other species might take decades to solve a problem, humans found quick, if sometimes inelegant, solutions. By 2180, humans had established 17 colonies across 8 star systems. They had discovered ruins of ancient civilizations and pieces of abandoned technology from more advanced races. With surprising skill, they reverse-engineered what they found and combined it with their own designs. The Council finally decided it was time for first contact. After much debate, they voted to invite humanity to become the 13th member species of the Galaxy Council. On a warm summer day on New Eden, a massive silver ship appeared in the sky. It descended slowly toward the central plaza of the main settlement. Thousands of colonists gathered to witness humanity's first contact with alien life. Ambassador Samantha Wells, chosen to represent all of humanity, stepped forward as a ramp extended from the alien vessel. Her heart raced, but her steps were steady. Behind her, a squad of nervous security officers gripped their weapons tightly. From the ship emerged representatives of the 12 council species. Their forms were diverse beyond human imagination. Crystalline beings, creatures of living metal, sentient gases contained in elaborate vessels. The Viridian High Administrator stepped forward. Its translator converted its clicks and whistles to English. "Greetings, humans. We are the Galaxy Council. We have watched your progress with interest. We invite you to join us." Samantha straightened her shoulders and smiled. "We have much to learn," she told the council, "but perhaps we have something to teach as well." The Viridian High Administrator clicked its mandibles in amusement. How quaint. Neither side realized that this moment would eventually lead to a silence that would terrify the galaxy. 50 years passed since humanity joined the Galaxy Council. Earth ships traveled between the stars with growing confidence. Human colonies spread across space like seeds in the wind. By the year 2230, the United Earth Federation had 53 colonies and 6 massive space stations. Ambassador John Peterson walked through the grand halls of the Council Tower on Vereda Prime. At 63, his hair had turned gray, but his eyes remained sharp and clear. He adjusted his formal blue uniform and prepared himself for another difficult meeting. The 12 alien council members were already seated when John entered the chamber. He took his place at the human seat, noticeably smaller than the others. "We will now discuss resource allocation in the Orion sector," announced the Nefri representative, a swirling cloud of intelligent gas contained in an ornate vessel. "The human request for mining rights on 3 additional planets has been reviewed and denied." John leaned forward. "On what grounds?" "Those planets are unclaimed. They fall within the expansion zone granted to humanity in our membership agreement." The Axrathi Elder's scales flashed red. "The Council has reconsidered that agreement. Human expansion has been concerning." Concerning. John kept his voice level despite his rising anger. "Humanity simply asks for fair access to the same opportunities afforded to other species." The Nefri representative drifted closer. "Humans demand in years what other species negotiated over centuries. Your kind lacks patience." John looked around the chamber. Only the luminary representative seemed sympathetic, its energy form pulsing with gentle blue light. What John didn't know was that several council members had been monitoring human communication channels for years. They had observed how humans discussed defense strategies openly, debated potential weaknesses in alien technology, and made contingency plans in case relations with the council deteriorated. After the meeting, John met with his aide, Kathy Rodriguez, in a small garden designed to accommodate various species. Beautiful crystalline trees grew alongside earth roses and alien plants that moved on their own. "It didn't go well," John said, sitting heavily on a bench. Kathy nodded. "They're afraid of us." "Afraid? They're thousands of years ahead of us technologically." "But they don't understand us," Kathy replied. "We adapt faster than they do. We solve problems differently. And we prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. They see our military exercises and think we're planning war." Back on Earth, in the underground headquarters of the United Earth Defense Force, Admiral Diane Foster reviewed the latest intelligence reports from Council space. Her office walls were covered with star maps showing human colonies in blue and Council territories in various other colors. "They're monitoring our communications," she told General Paul Hayes. "All of them, even the supposedly private diplomatic channels." Paul frowned. "Can they break our military encryption?" "Not yet," Diane said, "but we should assume they're trying." Paul looked at the star map. "The expansion restrictions are getting worse. Our colonies need resources." "I know, but we need to be careful. The last thing we want is to provoke them." In the Council's secret chamber, away from the human representatives, the Axrathi Elder addressed the other members. "Humans build ships with weapon mounts disguised as scientific equipment. Their colonies have defense systems hidden beneath civilian structures. They are preparing for war while smiling at us across the negotiation table." The Viridian High Administrator's mandibles clicked rapidly. "What do you propose?" "Restrictions. Strict ones. Limit their expansion. Control their access to advanced technology. Monitor their military capabilities." The vote was held. 11 members raised their appendages or signaled agreement in their species manner. Only the luminary opposed. "They are young," the luminary representative argued. "All species go through phases of fear and caution when joining the galactic community. If we restrict them without cause, we may create the very enemy we fear. The Axrathi elders' scales darkened. Better to face that enemy while we still hold the advantage. None of them realized that their decision would set in motion events that would eventually plunge the galaxy into darkness and fear. The humans, pushed into a corner, would one day respond in a way that would make the mighty council tremble. On Earth, a young officer named Alan Wright was recruited into a new top-secret division of Earth's military. Its name, Covert Operations Division. Its mission, to prepare for a future where humanity might stand alone against the galaxy. The mining outpost on Ceres 9 was a small but important human colony. Located on a rocky planet rich in rare minerals, it housed 1,536 men and women who worked the mines and refineries. They lived in simple dome structures connected by tunnels, protected from the harsh atmosphere outside. On a quiet Tuesday morning in 2242, everything changed. Security Officer Roy Baker was the first to notice something on the long-range scanners. Unidentified ships approaching. He called out to the control room. 7 vessels. They're not responding to hails. Colony Director Kelly Morgan rushed to his side. She was a tall woman with short red hair who had run the outpost for 6 years. Are they Earth ships? Council patrols? Roy shook his head. Unknown design. But he hesitated. The energy signatures match Axrathi technology. Kelly's face paled. Sound the alarm. Get everyone to the emergency shelters. The sirens blared throughout the colony. Miners dropped their tools and ran toward the designated safety areas. Families grabbed emergency kits from their homes. They never had a chance. The attack was swift and merciless. Energy beams sliced through the colony's minimal defenses. Explosions tore open the protective domes, exposing the inhabitants to the poisonous atmosphere. Within 20 minutes, all 1,536 human colonists were dead. The attacking ships vanished as quickly as they had appeared, but not before the colony's automated systems captured images of them. The data was transmitted to Earth via emergency quantum channels moments before the final transmission facility was destroyed. 3 days later, an emergency session of the Galaxy Council was called. The Grand Chamber was filled with tension as Ambassador Lisa Ward entered. Her normally perfectly arranged blonde hair was slightly disheveled, her eyes red from lack of sleep. Behind her walked 2 military officers carrying secure data devices. Honorable members of the council, Lisa began, her voice tight with controlled rage. 3 days ago, the human mining colony on Ceres 9 was attacked without warning or provocation. All 1,536 colonists were killed. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The luminary representative pulsed with distress. We have evidence, Lisa continued, that the attacking ships were of Axrathi design. She nodded to the officers, who activated a holographic display showing the attack from multiple angles. The Axrathi elder rose to his full height, his scales flashing defensive patterns of orange and black. This is outrageous. The Axrathi Empire denies any involvement in this incident. The evidence is clear, Lisa replied, pointing to specific details in the hologram. Engine configurations, weapon signatures, hull design, all Axrathi. Fabricated, the elder roared. Humans staged this attack themselves to gain sympathy and justify their military buildup. For 6 days, the council deliberated. Experts examined the evidence. Testimonies were heard from both sides. Lisa and her team presented flight paths, energy readings, and detailed analysis of the attack patterns. On the 7th day, the council announced its decision. The Viridian High Administrator addressed the human delegation with a cold, formal tone. After careful consideration, the council finds the evidence presented to be inconclusive. While the ships appear to be of Axrathi design, we cannot determine with certainty who operated them. We propose forming a joint investigation team that will report findings in approximately 1 standard galactic year. Lisa stood frozen in disbelief. She looked at each council member. seeing nothing but political calculation in their alien eyes. Only the luminary showed what might be interpreted as shame. Without a word, Lisa turned and walked out of the chamber. The human delegation followed her. Back on Earth, the United Earth Defense Council reviewed the Council's decision in a secure underground facility. The 12 highest-ranking military and political leaders sat around a circular table, their faces grim in the harsh lighting. "They've made their position clear," said President Andrew Cooper. "The Council will not protect human interests." Defense Secretary William Hart nodded. "They're testing us. They want to see how we'll respond." "And how will we respond?" asked a voice from the shadows. Everyone turned. Admiral Diane Foster stepped into the light. "We have options." 3 days later, the Axrathi colony on Nestus IV was destroyed by what appeared to be human weaponry. All 920 Axrathi there perished. The spiral toward war had begun. The Galaxy Council held an emergency session after the destruction of the Axrathi colony. The chamber buzzed with angry voices. Many expected humans to launch more attacks. Military vessels from all Council species were moved into defensive positions. But what happened next confused everyone. On May 17, 2243, every human ship, station, and colony went completely silent. All communication channels fell quiet. Observation posts near human territories reported military vessels returning to Earth at maximum speed. Within 3 weeks, humans had disappeared from the galaxy. "What are they doing?" asked the Nefri representative, its gaseous form swirling with confusion. "Retreating," the Axrathi elder said with satisfaction. "They know they cannot win a war against the Council." The luminary representative pulsed softly. "I am not so sure. This is unusual." Before the silence, Admiral Greg Daniels of Earth's Space Command had sent a single message to all human ships and colonies. Operation Homeward Shield is now in effect. All personnel execute Protocol Omega immediately. No explanation followed, just silence. The Council sent delegations to Earth to investigate. 5 ships from different species approached the Sol system. None returned. Probes sent afterward detected something extraordinary: a strange energy barrier surrounding Earth's entire solar system. It wasn't a conventional shield that blocked objects. Instead, it somehow distorted space itself. Anything that tried to pass through simply disappeared. "What kind of technology is this?" demanded the Viridian High Administrator. Humans were not capable of such engineering. Scientists from all Council species studied the barrier from a safe distance. They couldn't understand how it worked or where humans had obtained such advanced technology. "Perhaps they had help," suggested the Axrathi elder, scales flashing suspiciously. "Could one of us have secretly aided them?" The accusation created more division in the already stressed Council. A month passed, then another. The human silence continued. Some Council members began to relax, believing the crisis had passed. Perhaps humans had simply decided to isolate themselves from the galactic community. That belief was shattered when the Viridian colony on Terrace 3 experienced a planet-wide communications failure that lasted 6 hours. When systems came back online, the colony's defense grid fired on its own civilian centers, killing thousands. Similar incidents began happening across Council space. On Vereda Prime, atmospheric regulators shut down for 6 minutes, causing 12,000 deaths. On 3 Nefri colonies, navigation systems simultaneously failed, causing transport vessels to collide with planetary rings. At first, each incident seemed like a terrible accident. Equipment failure, software errors, bad luck. But soon, patterns emerged. Council intelligence officers began to suspect the truth. Humans hadn't retreated. They had deployed. The Council never imagined that humans had spent decades preparing for this possibility. While smiling across negotiation tables, they had quietly placed agents throughout Council space. These weren't conventional spies. They were something far more sophisticated. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains on Earth, in a heavily shielded bunker, Special Agent Alan Wright reviewed progress reports on a large screen. At 46, he had spent half his life preparing for this moment. His dark eyes scanned data streams from across the galaxy. Beside him stood 5 humans who appeared different. Their skin tones, body structures, and even the number of limbs varied wildly. They no longer looked human. Through advanced genetic modification, they had been altered to pass as various alien species. Phase 1 is complete, Alan told the gathered officials of the United Earth Defense Council. Their infrastructure has been compromised. Their communications are no longer secure. They still don't realize what's happening. Defense Secretary Maria Thompson nodded grimly. She was a short woman with steel-gray hair and the determination of someone who had spent her life preparing for war. "How many operatives do we have in place?" she asked. 3,842, Alan replied, "spread across all council worlds and major facilities." Casualties: 217 have been discovered and eliminated. Acceptable losses. Maria turned to the president. "Sir, our operatives are in position." President Eric Martinez studied the holographic display showing the status of council worlds. His face was solemn. He had not wanted this war, but he would not allow humanity to be bullied or attacked without consequence. "Begin Phase 2, he ordered quietly. Maria nodded to Alan, who pressed a sequence of commands into his terminal. Across the galaxy, human agents who had been hiding for years received their new orders. The hidden war was about to escalate. 3 years of human silence passed. What began as strange accidents across council space had become a terrifying pattern. Power systems failed at critical moments. Water purification plants produced toxic chemicals. Food distribution networks sent supplies to the wrong places, causing shortages and riots. The Galaxy Council met in emergency session for the 4th time that month. Their grand chamber, once a symbol of unity and power, now felt like a trap. The representatives argued constantly, their trust in each other eroding with each new disaster. "This has gone beyond coincidence," the Nefri representative said, its gaseous form agitated within its containment vessel. "These are attacks. Coordinated attacks." "By whom?" demanded the Axra the Elder. "We have increased security everywhere. Our systems have been checked repeatedly for sabotage." "Humans," said the luminary representative simply. Its energy form pulsed with a steady, certain light. "They never left. They just changed tactics." "Impossible." The Viridian High Administrator clicked its mandibles nervously. "Our security scans would detect human biological signatures, unless they found a way to hide them." The luminary continued. "We always underestimated their adaptability. On the Viridian homeworld, a being who appeared to be a mid-level maintenance worker moved through a massive atmospheric regulation facility. To all scanners and observers, he was a perfect Viridian. Blue exoskeleton, compound eyes, 4 arms moving with precise coordination. His name had once been Kevin Pottle. Now he went by Work Unit 547B. He had spent 6 years embedded in Viridian society after extensive genetic and surgical modifications. His human DNA had been temporarily suppressed, his entire body restructured. Kevin approached a central control panel and inserted a small device into a port. It looked like a standard diagnostic tool, but contained specially designed nanobots that infiltrated the facility's systems. Within minutes, they would spread throughout the network, lying dormant until activated. He removed the device and continued his regular maintenance route. No alarms sounded. No suspicious glances followed him. The infiltration was perfect. Similar scenes played out across council space. Humans modified to appear as members of every council species carried out their missions with quiet efficiency. Some placed physical devices. Others uploaded viruses into networks. A few gathered intelligence from high-security facilities. On Earth, Alan Wright entered the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. Dozens of analysts worked at monitoring stations, tracking operations throughout the galaxy. Large screens showed the status of human operatives and council systems. "Report," he said to his assistant, Olivia Barnes. Commander Barnes was 37, with dark skin and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had helped design the Asymmetric Warfare Division from its earliest days. "Phase 2 is 87% complete," she said, handing him a secure tablet. "Our operatives have successfully compromised critical infrastructure on all major council worlds. We have control access to 63% of their military communication systems, 48% of their power grids, and 71% of their food production facilities." Elen nodded. "Casualties. 17 operatives lost this month, below projected numbers." He studied the data. "And Council military response. They've diverted significant resources to internal security," Olivia replied with a slight smile. "The Exrathi have recalled 30% of their fleet from the Earth blockade to deal with civilian unrest. The Viridians have similar problems. And they still don't know it's us. They suspect, but have no proof. They're beginning to accuse each other of sabotage." Elen walked to a large tactical display, showing the positions of Council military vessels. The blockade around Earth's solar system had thinned noticeably. "How much longer before they turn on each other?" he asked. "At current progression, 3 months," Olivia replied. The Axrathi and Nefri delegations nearly came to blows at yesterday's council session. The Viridians are threatening to withdraw from the alliance entirely. Elen allowed himself a small smile. "So the mighty Galaxy Council falls not to our weapons, but to fear and suspicion." He turned to Olivia. "Prepare a report for the President. Tell him Phase 2 will be complete within 2 weeks, and we can begin Phase 3 whenever he's ready." "Yes, sir." As Olivia left, Alan looked at the screen showing Earth's solar system, still protected by its mysterious barrier. "They wanted our silence," he murmured. "Now they understand what it truly means." In the council chamber, the luminary representative watched as its colleagues argued bitterly. It pulsed with sadness. "We did this to ourselves," it thought. "We feared them, so we attacked them. And now they are showing us why we were right to be afraid." The council finally admitted they were under attack. After months of denying the pattern, they could no longer ignore the evidence. In a rare moment of unity, they agreed to send their most powerful military vessels to Earth's solar system. 20 ships from all Council species gathered at the edge of the mysterious barrier. Admiral Zeth of the Axrathi fleet commanded the mission. His massive battleship, the Claw of Justice, led the formation. His scales shimmered with determination as he addressed the captains of the other vessels. "Our objective is to penetrate this barrier by any means necessary," he said. "Once inside, we will demand humans end their attacks or face complete destruction." The fleet fired their most powerful weapons at the barrier. Energy beams, gravity distortion fields, and quantum disruptors struck the shimmering wall of distorted space. Nothing worked. 3 ships tried to pass through at full speed. They simply vanished, never to be heard from again. After 7 days of failed attempts, the fleet retreated. They could not break through. Earth remained untouchable. Meanwhile, the attacks on Council worlds intensified. Water supplies were contaminated on 6 planets. Power grids failed across entire continents. Data networks corrupted critical information. Millions died, not from weapons, but from infrastructure collapse. On Axrath, food distribution systems failed completely. The population rioted, storming government buildings. The Elder was cornered by his own security detail. When he couldn't explain why their families were starving, they killed him. The entire planet fell into chaos. The Galaxy Council convened an emergency session. For the first time in its 40,000-year history, the Council admitted fear. "We must establish contact with the humans," pleaded the new Axrathi representative, his scales pale with stress. "We must negotiate." "They aren't responding to any communication," the Nefri representative pointed out. "Standard channels, quantum entanglement, even primitive radio waves. Nothing penetrates their barrier. The Viridian High Administrator clicked his mandibles nervously. We don't even know if anyone still lives within that barrier. Perhaps they activated some ancient defense system and destroyed themselves in the process. The luminary representative pulsed with frustration. They are alive, and they are watching us tear ourselves apart, just as we once watched them struggle. On Earth, Commander Olivia Barnes of the Asymmetric Warfare Division presented her progress report to President Martinez and the Defense Council. The underground command center hummed with activity as analysts tracked the deteriorating situation across Council space. Their military is scrambling to address civilian unrest, Olivia explained, pointing to data on the main screen. They'd diverted 70% of their fleet from the Earth blockade to maintain order on their core worlds. President Eric Martinez studied the holographic display showing the status of the Council alliance. After 5 years as president during this crisis, his hair had turned completely gray. Deep lines marked his face, but his eyes remained sharp and determined. How long before they turn on each other? He asked. At current progression, 3 months, Olivia replied. The Viridians have formally accused the Nefri of sabotage. 3 minor species have already withdrawn from the Council completely. Defense Secretary Maria Thompson leaned forward. Sir, I believe it's time for Phase 3. The fleet is ready. Eric nodded slowly. Casualties among our operatives. Increasing, Alan Wright admitted from his position at the table. They're implementing more aggressive security protocols. We've lost 38 agents this month. They know it's us, Eric said. They just can't prove it. Yes, sir. Eric stood and walked to the large window overlooking the underground hangar. Below, thousands of engineers worked on sleek warships. These weren't the primitive vessels humans had used before. These incorporated technology reverse-engineered from Council designs, enhanced by human innovation. For 5 years, hidden behind their protective barrier, humans had built a fleet unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. While the Council thought humans were hiding, they were preparing. Prepare the fleet, Eric ordered. When they're at their weakest, we strike. Maria nodded and began issuing orders to military commanders. Eric turned back to the window. The ships below represented humanity's response to years of Council condescension and the attack that killed over 1,500 innocent colonists. The Council had wanted to teach humans a lesson. Now humans would teach one of their own. Across Council space, the hidden human operatives received new orders. Phase 3 was beginning. The silent war was about to become very, very loud. The Galaxy Council was in chaos. The Viridians accused the Nefri of sabotage. The Axrathi threatened to withdraw from the alliance entirely. 3 minor species had already recalled their representatives. Once a symbol of galactic cooperation, the Council now resembled a group of frightened beings pointing weapons at each other. Then something unexpected happened. A single human vessel appeared at the edge of Council space. The ship was unlike any human vessel they had seen before. Sleek and silver, it moved with impossible grace. Council sensors couldn't penetrate its hull or determine its weapons capabilities. It transmitted on all frequencies a simple message. The U.S. Reckoning requests permission to address the Galaxy Council. After hurried discussions, the Council granted permission. They had little choice. Their military forces were scattered, trying to maintain order on their homeworlds. The human ship docked at the massive space station that housed the Council chambers. Only one human exited, Ambassador Steve Bennett. He was a tall man with dark skin and short gray hair, dressed in a simple blue uniform. He walked alone and unarmed through the station corridors, flanked by nervous Council security guards. The Council chamber, once a place of grandeur and authority, now felt like a funeral parlor. The representatives sat in tense silence as Steve entered. Some hadn't slept in days. Others had lost family members to the infrastructure failures plaguing their worlds. Steve stood in the center of the chamber, looking at each Council member in turn. His expression revealed nothing. "You wonder why we went silent," he began, his voice calm. and measured. You wonder how we've brought the mighty Galaxy Council to its knees without firing a shot. He activated a small device on his wrist. A holographic display appeared above him, showing detailed schematics of Council defense systems, communication networks, and infrastructure controls. For 60 years, while you patronized us and dismissed our concerns, we studied you, Steve continued. Every system you generously shared with us, we analyzed for weaknesses. Every technology you traded, we improved upon in ways you never imagined. The luminary representative glowed brightly in distress. The attack on your mining colony was carried out by Axrathi ships, yes, Steve confirmed. But those ships were acting under orders from the Council Security Directorate. We intercepted the communication logs. The chamber erupted in shocked outrage. Several representatives turned accusingly toward the Directorate Chairman, a senior Viridian who had served on the Council for 200 years. You tested us, Steve continued, his voice cutting through the chaos. You wanted to see how we would respond to provocation. You expected a direct military response that would justify restrictions on human expansion. The Directorate Chairman's mandibles clicked rapidly, but he didn't deny the accusation. Instead, we gave you silence, Steve said. And in that silence, we demonstrated just how vulnerable you truly are. He expanded the hologram to show the locations of all human agents throughout Council space. There were thousands embedded in every major facility, government, and military installation. Right now, Steve said, I could give a single command and your worlds would fall completely. Your power grids would fail permanently. Your life support systems would shut down. Your defense networks would turn against your own planets. The Council representatives sat in stunned silence. But that is not why I'm here, Steve continued, closing the hologram. I'm here to offer peace. Peace. The Nefri representative swirled angrily in its containment vessel. You attack us for years, and then offer peace. We defended ourselves, Steve replied firmly. You struck first. You killed over 1,500 innocent colonists to test our response. We showed you what happens when you threaten humanity. He placed a small data crystal on the central table. This contains our terms. They are not negotiable. The Viridian High Administrator reached cautiously for the crystal. And if we refuse? Steve's expression remained neutral. We've spent 5 years showing you what we can do with infiltration and sabotage. Would you like to see what our fleet can do now? He gestured toward the large viewing window of the chamber. Outside, the barrier around Earth's solar system was dissolving. Beyond it, hundreds of advanced human warships were emerging from hiding. The choice is yours, Steve said. Peace on our terms, or a war you cannot win. The Council representatives looked at each other. For the first time in 40,000 years, the mighty Galaxy Council would have to surrender to a younger species they had once dismissed as primitive. The luminary representative pulsed gently. Perhaps it is time we learned from humans, rather than trying to control them. One by one, the Council species signed the Treaty of Terra. The ceremony took place on neutral ground, a space station hastily constructed at the halfway point between Earth and the former Council headquarters. Representatives from all species gathered in a large circular chamber with Earth visible through one window and the former Council homeworld through another. President Eric Martinez signed for Humanity First, using an antique pen that had once signed peace treaties on Earth centuries ago. His hand was steady, his expression solemn. The treaty terms surprised many council members. They had expected harsh punishments, territorial demands, or crippling reparations. Instead, the terms focused on equality and fairness. No species, including humans, would hold authority over others. Resource rights would be distributed based on need rather than historical claims. Technology would be shared openly. Most importantly, aggression against any signatory would trigger a unified response from all. This isn't about revenge, Eric explained to the assembled representatives. It's about creating a better system. After the last signature was added, a ripple of tension released across the room. Some council members whispered that humans were more merciful than expected. Others wondered if this was just the first step in a longer human plan for domination. Back on Earth, the news of the treaty signing was met with mixed emotions. Celebrations broke out in major cities, with people flooding the streets waving flags and setting off fireworks. But many families who had lost loved ones in the attack on Ceres 9 felt the treaty was too lenient. They wanted punishment, not partnership. President Martinez addressed these concerns in a global broadcast from the White House Rose Garden. Sunlight filtered through the trees as he stood at a podium before the world's press. Today marks the end of humanity's isolation and the beginning of genuine partnership with our galactic neighbors, he said. We demonstrated our power not to conquer, but to correct an imbalance. The silence is over. Let us speak now of peace. He paused, looking directly into the cameras. To those who wanted more severe terms, I understand your pain. But continuing a cycle of revenge would only lead to more suffering. Our goal was never domination, it was respect. And we have earned that respect. In the following weeks, human ships and colonies began to reappear throughout the galaxy. The modified human agents were recalled for treatment to restore their original forms. Many chose to remain as diplomats to the species they had infiltrated, using their unique understanding to build bridges between cultures. A new galactic governing body was established. Unlike the old council with its hierarchy and power imbalances, the new Galactic Assembly gave equal voice to all member species. Its headquarters was built on a previously unclaimed planet named Harmony, symbolizing a fresh start. In the Assembly's central chamber, Ambassador Steve Bennett chatted with the luminary representative, whose energy form glowed with peaceful blue light. You know, the luminary's translator conveyed. Many of us wondered why humans accepted council membership so readily despite obvious prejudice against your kind. Steve smiled. We needed to understand the system before we could change it. And the silence. Was that always the plan? Steve's expression grew serious. We learned long ago on Earth that the most terrifying opponent isn't the one who threatens loudly. It's the one who quietly disappears to plan their next move. He gazed out at the stars, visible through the station's transparent dome. Humanity spent thousands of years fighting itself. We nearly destroyed our civilization multiple times. When we finally achieved unity, we promised ourselves we would never again allow aggression to go unchallenged. The luminary pulsed with curious light patterns. So what happens now? Now, Steve's smile returned. Now we build something better. Together. In a secure facility on Mars, Commander Olivia Barnes officially deactivated Operation Homeward Shield. The specialized strike teams were recalled. The sophisticated network of sabotage devices planted throughout former Council space was decommissioned. As she entered the final authorization code, Olivia felt a mixture of relief and pride. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged stronger. They had shown the galaxy that underestimating humans was a dangerous mistake. The silence had served its purpose. Now it was time for humanity's voice to be heard in a galaxy it would never again mistake their quiet for weakness.